Jimmy, it's time to clean your room.
I only do that on Thursdays. Leave me alone.
Jimmy, it is Thursday.
Oh, okay. I'll clean my room.
Thanks, Jimmy. Hey, everybody. Yes. Welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, it is a Thursday. This is a surprise episode we're springing on people. Tell everybody what we're doing here.
Guys, you are such an amazing, wonderful audience. You are full of questions. You have the best questions. Some people would say the best questions. And we have what some people would say are the best answers. And we're going to take your questions and take our answers and put them together and make a podcast, baby. And it's going to be great. You guys are going to love it. We're going to do this on a regular basis. Surprise. It's Surprise Thursday. So it's an exciting time. If you've been sending in questions, we are going to get through these. We're going to go through them. Be patient. We have your question and we'll eventually get to it, or we'll try our best. If you haven't sent in a question and you're interested, now that we have a dedicated Q&A show, you can go to paidsearchpodcast.com, click on the contact button and fill out the form and send your question in. Maybe if it's interesting, it may not even have to be about PPC. Maybe you have a question for Jason about dating advice or, things like that. Because Jason's super educated about that. So before we jump into our first question from Peg, I want to tell you guys about Optio, optio.com/PSP. It is the software to use to get things done faster in Google Ads. You need to change bids, budget, keywords, ad copy. This tool will help you get it done quickly. So Optio is designed to improve your campaigns along with your own knowledge, right? This isn't about push it, set it, and forget it. This isn't the kind of software that says we're smarter than you. You're going to automate everything and just trust this software system to do it for you. No. What's great about Optio is that it uses your own intellect, your own knowledge to make decisions about those things, and you can move forward from there. Get things done faster with Optio, opteo.com/PSP, and get a 6-week extended trial. Everybody else out there gets 4 weeks. The listeners of the Paid Search Podcast get 6 weeks. You're going to love it. Try it out. We thank them for their sponsorship.
Thanks, Chris. And we're going to be doing this every single Thursday. So now we have 2 episodes a week. We're going to grow. I love the growth. Chris loves the growth. And send in your questions at paidsearchpodcast.com on the contact page. We are able to do 2 shows a week now, Q&A show on Thursdays, because you guys out there leave 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. This week's Apple Podcast review of the week comes from Weg. Hey, bros, 5 stars. Thanks. Love your podcast. You are retargeting me. Thumbs up. And so, yes, I happen to be doing that.
Don't click it. Just admire.
Hey, if you want, if you're interested, we're there. So we're trying out different ads and seeing how that works. And in our Patreon show weekly, we talk a little bit about how those ads do. So Chris, let's get down to business here. I guess we'll just kick it off and take turns reading the questions. And I'll start us off here from one of our, can I say, Chris, our favorite listener, Peg?
Oh, yeah.
I think Peg, I got to say absolutely. It. Yeah, I can say it. For years, yes. So thank you, Peg, for sending in these great questions. So Chris, Peg writes in, and she, I'm going to summarize the question here. Basically, she has 2 different types of conversions going on. She has what we call harder conversions or kind of real conversions, like lead forms being submitted, calls from ads, calls from website, the actual leads. And then she has what I call softer conversions, time on site, pages per visit, and those kind of conversions, maybe a newsletter sign up. And she's trying out different bidding strategies. So she's doing, she's tried everything from enhanced CPC, manual bidding with enhanced CPC turned on to target CPA. She says target CPA has been working. The reason target CPA is working is because she feeds the machine a lot of conversions, and some of those conversions are the high value ones, the leads, some are the softer ones, the newsletter signups, the time on site, the pages per visit. So what she's wanting to do is not rely so heavily on the softer conversion. She wants to only optimize based on the actual leads, because that's what the goal of the campaign is primarily. But she's nervous that if she stops counting some of these the softer conversions as conversions, then is she going to have enough data to kind of feed the machine with target CPA? Should she try different strategies? So Chris, the question is, you want to do automated bidding, you want to do it based on some kind of conversions. You have two sets of conversions, really, really in-depth, or the hard conversions, the lead forms, the calls, and then you have the softer conversions. And right now, all of them are feeding the machine in terms of target CPA. What would you recommend Peg do?
It's a great question, because Peg's focused on making the best decision and not padding her report with false information. So some of you out there may be wondering, like, why? I mean, just what I do is I set up conversions based on anything that's a value, and if they go to the store page, then I have that as a conversion. If they add something to the cart, that's a conversion. If they purchase, that's a conversion. And I optimize so that it'll encourage people to make those decisions. The fact is, the reason Peg asked this question is because the percentage of people that go to the store page, the percentage of people that view the checkout page, will be significantly higher if you compare it to the completion of a purchase. So if someone completes a purchase, at a 1% rate, the viewed checkout page and the viewed, added to cart might be 10, 15, 20%. Because people may just want to check out how much the shipping is, or, additional fees, things like that. So this is really important because the system, if you use automated bidding, like maximize conversions, and CPA, best
Target
CPAs,
CPA,
bidding, target CPA, then the system, at no fault of its own, just the way that it's designed, will push for the most conversions. And what you might find is you're essentially just pushing for viewed store page, or the smart bounce rate conversion, which means, if anybody stays on the page more than 30 seconds, that tracks as a conversion. So now you have a report with hundreds of conversions, and the person, that you're working for says, I know you said we had 250 conversions, but listen, I only sold 2 widgets last month. I don't see why I'm spending $3,000. Only sold this much. So it's really critical. And so for Peg, I would say in your question, I think the best answer is what you described. What I would recommend is setting up to maximize the conversions based on conversion value. That's what I think is going to be the best thing. And this is relatively new, when you can maximize conversions and choose, instead of just number of conversions, there's a little radio button underneath it that says maximize based on value. And you can set those values at the conversion level. So that's what I would recommend. And for those of you listening that don't know what I'm talking about, you can actually go in and manually set a view of checkout page to be $1. Someone who added something to cart could be 25 cents. And then when they make a transaction, when they purchase, it literally shows the value of that transaction. That might be 150, 200, whatever their actual purchase is. So that helps equate and put things into scale. Someone adding something to cart is a very small value, but a purchase would be equal to what the actual value is to the company. So that's what I would recommend. Great question. Jason, what do you think?
Well, you can also do it with lead generation campaigns. So if you have a lead or a call, lead form or a call, and say it takes 5 calls to get an actual signed up customer, or 5 lead forms to get a signed up customer, and say the value of one customer is $500, takes 5 to get $500, you can call each lead a value of 100. So then a lead form completion or a call, you can put in a value of 100. And then you can do what you're saying, this target return on ad spend automated bidding, where you tell it what return you want to get on your ad spend, like 500% or whatever percentage you want to use. I think that's probably the best way to do it in Peg's situation, where she has some conversions that are going to be worth a lot, some conversions that are not worth a lot. I think the very difficult thing is finding out what are those conversions worth and not fooling yourself, because you're going to be putting data into the machine with this target return on ad spend based on the value of your different conversions. And the machine's going to do what the machine does. But if you don't put in the right inputs to it, things could go wrong. So to me, figuring out what a lead form, what a website call or call from ad is worth, I think that's pretty easy, because you can just look at how many leads, how many conversions on average does it take me to sign up a new customer. I think the more difficult part is putting a value on newsletter signups, putting a value on viewed the contact page. So I don't know, Chris. I think for me, obviously, the more conversion data you have, the better. I'd be very inclined to, if I'm doing automated bidding, to try to do it just off of hard conversions, I think. Even if you do, but if you're confident in the values you can put on those softer conversions, then of course the more data the better. And I think it's worth trying out a return on target ad spend, automated bidding, if that's your goal. By the way, we're going to use these Q&As to really improve people's Google Ads games, Chris. So when we reference different topics like this, they're going to be in the show description, links to articles about it. So I'll have a link to return on target ad spend. And then also, Chris, I was coming across this week, and then we'll move to the next question. All conversions column. Have you ever seen that? All conversions. It's a pretty cool column, and we'll have a link to the article about it. But what you can do is you can create conversions. Some of the conversions you can say, when you create them, don't include in quote unquote conversions. And what you're telling the system is, hey, this is only newsletter signups. It's only time on site. I am doing lead form tracking, website call tracking. I don't really want to put these as inputs in the conversion column, but I still want to know how much they're happening. And so then you can say, don't include in conversions. But then the question is, well, then where do I see those conversions show up that I'm not, quote unquote, including in conversions, the softer conversions? And you can add the all conversions column and then segment out by conversion action. And that's where you can see what's going on there. Yeah. So, Chris, the more the smart bidding comes into play, the more the automate comes into play, there's going to be a lot of options with conversion tracking and especially return on target ad spend. I think we need to talk about that a lot more, because if you get those numbers right, the inputs right, the outputs can be real impressive.
That's very true. I think that's an excellent point to bring up, the all conversions tab, because not all conversion. Well, this is side note here. Can we just change all conversions? Can we call it conversions or like some other word?
All conversions, even the ones you said don't include in conversions.
Yeah.
Let's get the acronym for that.
Like, so confusing to say conversions are conversions, all conversions are not conversions.
Okay. Again, we talked about it on Monday. I'm not asking for 1% of Alphabet in shares delivered to my mailbox and I become a billionaire. I'm not asking for that. If you want to do that, and I think I'm owed that, honestly, we can work something out. But I am giving away tons of great advice to them for free. Call it reported conversions that are actually the ones that are reported, and then call it all conversions like they do now, the ones that you're not reporting.
Well, let's, for the purpose of this podcast, let's call conversions, and let's call all conversions non-reported conversions.
No, because all conversions includes both reported and non-converted.
I know, but for the purpose...
I love that we're arguing about something we can't control.
We have no control. Yeah.
But Chris, I agree with your general point. Like, it is confusing how you tell it. Because I questioned myself when I was making notes for the show. I was like, is it really called do not include in conversions? And then the column is called all conversions. But yeah, it is.
It's all conversions. Yeah. So, okay. So skipping all of that, I mean, the important part here is that you can measure something that is not a monetary value, but is still a measurement of success. So getting a phone call, getting a lead is definitely a monetary value because you can track.
Because you get 10 of those calls, you're going to get business, basically. Yeah.
You're going to get business within a certain percentage, if you look at your history. So you can assign a monetary value, but you can't assign a monetary value to someone just looking at the free quote page because that's ridiculous. You get like 0.02% conversion rate. You're not going to rely on that kind of measurement. It can go up and down. It's not reliable. Yeah. So the all conversions is great. I think that's a really good point because possibly, I'd change my answer. I don't know if I'm allowed to change my answer, but maybe that's a better answer for her. Like, just use it as an all conversion and continue what you're doing, but just measure that all conversion, non-reporting conversion column as a measurement of success rather than using the automated system. I don't know. Maybe she really wants to use the automated system and that's what she's going for. How can she use it more effectively? But
Chris, the thing about Google Ads knowledge is like knowing all of these options, whatever Peg wants to use, whatever her goals are with her bidding, like that's her individual campaign, but that's her individual goal with her bidding. But just the fact that Peg and everyone listening has all these options to know about, it allows you to have different, more flexibility in the Google Ads campaign when a client asks for something, when you're trying to figure out something as an advertiser. The more you know about the platform, and Chris, I'm gonna just butter you up and rub you down right now. Nobody knows more about the platform than my friend Chris Schaefer. Like, he tells me about nooks and crannies of this thing that I've never even heard of, and it's great when he comes out with some hidden gems like that. Can I say that, Chris? Can I say that?
I mean,
don't you know a lot about the platform?
It's not because of genius or smartness. It's literally about hours.
Definitely not about smartness.
Hours put into it. No,
I don't know if that's a word.
I said, what was it? Louisville, and I still regret that.
And I love that part of you still questions the world that it's actually called Louisville. And you're like, I think it is Louisville.
It says Louis right there. Like, if someone says, hi, my name is.
Hey, Chris, can I do a little radio? Speaking of Louis, we're going to take a question now from Tom from the St. Louis Cardinals. He wrote in. You like that? I'm trying to get a radio gig. I think that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. I'm trying to leave the podcast world in my mom's basement, in Jimmy's basement behind, and I'm trying to get a radio gig in the studio,
Someday when your parole is up, they'll let you out of that prison that you live in there. And you can
Chris, don't talk about things like that. Okay. So Tom,
right, here we go. Tom,
Chris, you read it. I read the last one.
My turn to read. Yeah,
go ahead.
Tom from St. Louis. Is that? Did you say
That's
Louis?
what it is. Yeah.
It really is St. Louis. It's not. It's. Okay.
Are you really asking me that, or are you being funny?
I don't see, because it's Louisville is not Louisville. It's Louisville.
Chris, people can forgive Louisville because that's like, it's a little bit of a smaller city. There's not a major sports team there.
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
It's not St. Louis is what you say, right?
I guess, did you really not know that?
I'm questioning it. I'm questioning what I know.
Okay. Yeah, it's called St. Louis. Trust me, buddy.
Tom from Dallas. Hey, gang, long-time listener, first-time caller. Do you find remarketing is still valuable for service-based companies that call on the first touch point? Mm-hmm. Pause here. When he says first touch point, he means like the very first time they click. They're not searching. They didn't search a brand keyword, a product name, or anything. They're searching for a widget that does this, and they find that widget online. That's what he means by first touch point. I used to work for a larger agency that said their data showed it was more valuable to go after the next person searching for your service. Jason.
Well, first I want to send my, please send me the address of this quote unquote larger agency. I'd love to send them a gift. It's people like them that keep me in business. So thanks for being complete idiots and fools that just try to rip off your customers. Could not be more appreciative of that. So I guess the question is, Chris, the way I took it is on businesses where you're getting down to business. You know what I'm saying? Like, someone calls and you're like, hey, do you do this? And they're like, yeah, we do that. And they're like, all right, come over and do it to me. Like junk removal, locksmith.
Right. That sounds
you know what I'm saying? Like it happens on the first call. That's what I say when I call junk removal. I'm like, do you guys do junk removal? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, come over and do it to me right now. And they're like, all right, as long as you got a credit card or cash, we're on our way. So, Chris, junk removal, locksmith, those things come to mind. That's when I do a search. I'm looking for a provider right now, and I'm ready, and let's do it. If I call a divorce attorney in Memphis, I've got to feel out if that attorney's a good fit for me. I want to go into the office, have a consultation, and we're not getting down to business immediately. So this is like the opposite of that. This is instant. So the point is, if we run a kind of an instant service business and we're ready to get down to the point now, does it make sense to spend some of our budget on remarketing and continually stay in front of people for the next, we'll talk about it, next few days to next 30 days to longer if you want? Or does it make sense to take every last penny of that budget and spend it on the 13 services that the agency offers because they want to bill you 13 ways? No, to spend the last dollar on the search campaign and not do any remarketing at all because you get down to business and let's just keep running on search. So Chris, I've got strong thoughts about this. I want to know what you think.
Yeah. So I feel, because I had to read this question several times, and for our listeners, they only heard it once. I want to simplify Tom's answer. He said, basically, he's asking, is it important to remarket to people versus just, instead of spending that 32 cents, 15 cents, 80 cents, and just spend that on the next click that comes in? So basically he's saying, should I remarket or not, is what he's asking. Yeah. And for me, you probably heard the answer in my restatement of that question. It's a couple cents. And we're talking about thousands of impressions, a click-through rate. If anyone's running a remarketing campaign, the click-through rate is very low. So for every thousands of clicks, or impressions that you get a couple clicks. We're talking 0.3, 0.2, 0.5 click-through rate. You've garnered thousands of clicks on devices from people who have recently been to your site. And for those couple of clicks that you've gotten, you're spending a few cents. Now, you crazy people out there that spend, $5, $4 a click, I don't know what you're thinking. Maybe you have your own strategy, but I don't think remarketing. Are you
taking a dig at me?
No, Jason. Did that hurt personally?
Because I don't spend $4 or $5 on remarketing. I'm more in the $12 to $20 range.
No, God. No, you're not. Okay.
Oh, I'm not? Okay. Okay.
You
keep thinking everything.
New episode. Let's look at Jason's account in our new episode called Mistakes Jason Makes, episode 198. So the thing is, I think the investment is so small. Let's say they're spending $1,000 and you want to spend $50 on remarketing. And you can just bid $1, bid 50 cents. The value of those impressions are so much more valuable in that $50, that 5% that you're going to put into remarketing. I think it's more effective to spend that 5% there than it is in your search campaign. Put 5% more budget, right? Here's the test. Let's use numbers here. Tom, you say, okay, Mr. Amazing Agency who has opinions that are stupid. I'm going to fund your agency 5% more on your search campaigns. Show me how you've invested that 5% that brought a value to the client or the customer. Show me a 5% increase in conversions with a 5% budget increase. It's not going to be there because it is extremely difficult to take small increments like that and show success on it because it takes a little bit more of an impact, 25%, 30%, 50% increases, then you can start showing some movement. 5%, it's nothing. It's worth the impressions. That's my argument.
Chris, last night I'm lying in bed, 4 a.m.
Wow.
I've been waking up early. I'm on track. Don't worry about me, everybody, but I have been staying up a little late this week. And little message comes on my phone from all the way from the UK on Skype, because it's 6 hours ahead there. Hi, Jason. How are you doing? And I said, hi, so-and-so, lying right next to Cynthia. And I said, going good. How about you?
Is this Skype?
This is Skype, yeah. A little text on Skype. And you know why I got this message from a former client who I haven't worked with in at least a year?
Yeah.
Remarketing.
Tell me.
Remarketing.
You
Remarketing.
bet.
And where in my Google Ads account can I prove that so-and-so, very, very great client who I really like just personally from the UK, and we're probably going to work together again. How can I prove that she contacted me at 4 a.m. my time on Skype, and it came from, that's how we used to contact each other when I was working for her, because she's over in the UK and she preferred Skype to email and all that. So how can I prove that message on Skype came from my remarketing campaigns that I've ramped up in the last month? I can't prove that. But this kind of stuff happens to me all the time when I do remarketing heavy, Chris, all the time. And it just, so if she's either running Google Ads herself, or she hasn't been running them for the last year, or she worked with a different agency, maybe at any time in the last year, she's seen my remarketing ads, she wouldn't have contacted me on Skype, because she wouldn't have been in that headspace or whatever, that moment to where she's ready to. But she just got to the point where she was just frustrated doing it herself, frustrated with her current agency. Something happened where she saw my remarketing ad at the right moment for her, and she wanted to contact me and talk about doing business again together. So does that show up as a conversion in my Google Ads account? Nope. And it might say a big fat 0 conversion on my remarketing spend for the last week. But this kind of stuff happens all the time. So the question is, do you want that stuff to happen to your business? Do you want to grow a brand? Do you want to grow a business? Or do you just want to do jobs when people click on your ad and call in, and you're continually on that hamster wheel of spending money to get jobs? So to me, I can't think of a business that can't benefit from remarketing. I just can't think of one. Even these quick service happens instantly. And I can't prove that, but I just know it to be true. So you can take my word for it. You can try it yourself or don't, but that's my advice on remarketing. Always do it. It's always worth it. And just a little tip for people out there: when you set up remarketing in Google Analytics and import it over to Google Ads, membership duration, Chris, you can do, the default is 30 days. People stay on your remarketing list for 30 days after visiting your website. You can do it from 1 day up to 540, which I'm pretty sure is a year and a half. So whatever your sales cycle is, whatever's good with your business.
A long time.
But if, say you're a junk removal, say you're a locksmith, whatever, you can retarget people for 1 day, 3 days if they didn't fill out your lead form. People who've been on my site that haven't seen the thank you page. Target people like that for 1 to 3 days if that's your sales cycle. But and play around with it, layer on different audiences. But there's not a bigger fan of remarketing on this planet than me. I think it's amazing, and I'd love to talk about it more, Chris. But we have, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when else does Google give away the most important part of something for free?
The branding, the impression.
They don't. Impressions are completely free. I've said it before. In a perfect world, I would have a remarketing campaign with 0 cents bid and no money spent, and just like a million impressions.
Yeah.
It's free billboards.
I haven't looked at it in a long time, but the cost per 1,000 impressions on remarketing, it's got to be just really, really beneficial.
Yeah. Jason, we got time for one more?
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. So we have a question from Joseph from Montreal. Montreal.
Okay.
Hey guys, freaking love your show. These freaking needles.
Wow.
I once went to a doctor with my mom. Hey guys, freaking love your show. I listen daily and started buying old episodes. Love that. Archive on paidsearchpodcast.com. Keep it up. Okay, so you want to punch me in the face for asking this, but this is funny. But it would be great to hear your thoughts on Bing advertising. Yes, I said it. Bing, believe it or not, a ton of people still use it because it is default for PC, mostly older demographic. I would like to hear your thoughts on managing it and if you recommend just importing Google Ads campaigns to Bing or treating it differently. That's how I spelled it.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris, what's going on with Bing? I mean, do you have any confessions to make? Because I have a confession about Bing.
I, as you know, Jason, I am rock solid. I have been this way since I was born, and I never change. So
That's
never
true.
really
Just so everyone
Bing.
knows out there, this guy does not change. And you want to be a podcast partner with him, like you better accommodate to this man's needs because this guy is like a freaking rock out there. But I love it. So yeah,
I've never done Bing. And I
never
still
done
don't
Bing.
do
What
Bing.
are you talking about? What?
Google Ads is the superior PPC platform. Put my face on the billboards, Google. I will say that till I die. At this point, I think it's the superior system, and that's all I use. So, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth trying it. But basically, I'm unqualified to answer. I have clients that do it, and I say, "Hey, best of luck," and they say, "Oh,
wow, I did not know this."
Yeah, I just say, listen, here, okay. So business side on this, and then I'll let you answer. But when they say they want to do Bing, what I essentially do is I say, okay, invite me to it. I log into Bing, and then I set up an auto import for once a week, and it just imports specific campaigns. And so I basically manage Bing and Google AdWords all from Google AdWords, and
that's kind of sexy. I like that. I've never thought about the auto import.
Wow. Yeah, I just do auto import. So it just mimics everything I do in Google Ads.
Business of PPC. Do you say, okay, I'm going to charge you $50,000 a month for Bing as well? Or do you say like, nah, I'm not doing anything in there. I'm just auto importing. You get it for free.
You're going to get a taste of what we talk about in Patreon, but I'll tell you, Jason, when you charge for something, let me give you a hint. It means you're responsible for it. If something screws up, you've been charging for it. Now you're responsible for it. No, I do not charge for it because it's not my fault if it screws up.
So there's a lot of Bing hatred going on right now.
No, not hatred. No, just
even worse, indifference.
I love my time, and it's not worth my time to do it
Chris,
because I have not found the results.
Professional to professional here. Is this entirely based on the usability of the platform and navigating inside of there versus navigating in Google Ads?
I think I said
going to a different place and all that.
Yeah, I think I said at the beginning, Jason, I do not change. If something's unfamiliar, I reject it. And when I logged into Bing, it didn't look exactly like Google Ads. And I said, oh, I have to spend 20 minutes looking for a button that I know immediately where it is in Google Ads. No, thank you. And then I log out and I'm done. That's all it took.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, my confession was going to be that I don't use Bing enough and I don't push it on my clients enough and I don't use it for my own business enough. But I guess I was late to that party. So, whoa.
It's probably true. The correct answer is probably it's absolutely worth, because in reality, diversification of your traffic is probably a good idea. Nobody wants to invest everything into one system. Yeah. But in reality, here's what I found is the truth. Most people can continue to invest in Google Ads and put more money into the system because there's always more ways that you can do a little bit more remarketing, up your bids a little bit, up your budget a little bit, try a different vertical, try a few different keywords. Most of the time, there's always room to grow. So most people don't really have room for Bing because they're finding so much success in Google Ads. I'd rather them put another $50, $100, $500 into Google Ads rather than dumping it into another system. But
and for people who hire a professional, that also makes sense for fees, because if you can spend more on the same platform and keep your fees down, versus adding on another platform and someone charge you more fees. But yeah. So Chris, I think I have a few thoughts on Bing. One is, I think it's a good thing. I think it's good to do. It's search engine marketing, it's search engine advertising, just like Google Ads. So that's a good thing. There's a few a few claims that I hear about Bing. Number one, I hear it's mostly desktop and not mobile. Number two, I hear that the CPCs are cheaper because it's less competitive. Number three, I hear it is I don't know what I hear. Oh, I hear that the demographic is older, skews older. So on demographic, I can't give you an answer because I just don't have that data in front of me. But I do think there is something to that. Like, Bing is not really on smartphones, as I understand it. Bing is on Windows. You would think the Windows PC crowd skews older. And so, yeah, I would agree with that. Now, in terms of it being mobile versus desktop, yes, I would say it's mostly desktop. That's a good way to look at it. However, Chris, something very interesting. I just picked out 3 random Bing accounts before the show today. 3 of them, 90% desktop, 97% desktop, 72% desktop. One of the Bing campaigns, just an orthodontist campaign here in the United States in a major metro, 28% of the traffic is mobile on Bing. And
there you go.
What is that about? Is that people who pull up their phone and then tell it to set the default to Bing or Yahoo or something? I don't know what that's about, but I was surprised to see that. Now, in terms of cost per click, this is super interesting. Again, just randomly pick 3 accounts. One's in the UK, 2 are here in the States. The first one, $7 CPC Google, $8 CPC Bing. The second one, £1 Google, £3.50 Bing. The third one, $13 Google, $11 Bing. So on 2 out of 3 random accounts, the Bing cost per click is actually higher. Now, is that because there's less competition on Bing and our bids go further and we show up higher and pay more because of that? That could be going on. Where like say, Chris, I'm bidding $8, saying Google Ads, that only gets us to like position 3 or something like that, and in Bing it gets us to position 1 or 2 most of the time, and I just actually have to pay the $8. Maybe that's what's going on.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, I don't know. But I would have guessed that the cost per click is much lower in Bing, but that might be a myth. But again, this is just 3 random accounts, so I'd say it's definitely worth doing. Like you're saying, the benefit of diversification, Chris, the benefit of getting the same exact, should be the same quality traffic. But here's my main point, Chris. We'll have a link to this. You can import, a lot of people don't know this, and then they pay setup fees on Bing. You can import directly from Google Ads to Bing. You can click into Bing and you can go, hey, link to my Google Ads account and bring in the same exact campaign that I built in Google Ads and put it in Bing. And then, like Chris was saying, you can do an auto import and import the changes from Google Ads to Bing. So what I would say is do that. Double check your work, because sometimes the transformation from Google Ads to Bing, sometimes some things get messed up with. I've seen like locations aren't exactly the same and stuff like that. So you want to double check your work. But here's my biggest tip, Chris. From there, treat it like its own account, like its totally own campaign, like its own profit center. And if your account happens to get a lower cost per click and lower cost per conversion, great, good for you. If your account happens to get a higher cost per click, higher cost per conversion, great, good for you. Just manage it as its own thing from there. That's the way I approach it. And that's what's worked for me in the past. But I definitely recommend it as an add-on. And my biggest thing is just copying your work, double check it. But then from there, just manage it as its own thing, because it's different. It's different users, it's different technology, different look of the search, different positions and all that kind of stuff. So it's not fair to say just because something's working in Google exactly means it's going to work exactly the same in Bing. I just treat it basically like its own thing and manage it from there. So that's my Bing advice, Chris.
Okay. Well, there you go, Joseph. Thanks for sending in your question. And if you guys want to get more done in Google Ads and other platforms as well, Optio is a multi-platform PPC management system. If you're like Joseph, or you're working for yourself or an agency, or you have multiple clients, and you want to get more done because time is an asset to you, you need to get more done quickly, and you need to be efficient with it. This system is designed to look friendly, to be engaging, to be a system that guides you in your decisions, gives you additional information rather than just, the recommended, hey, change this manual campaign to automated. That's the recommended Google direction, but Optio, you'll find a variety of suggestions, from bids to keywords to ad copy to settings to geo to everything. So opteo.com/PSP to get your 6-week extended trial, and you're going to like it. Great system, easy to use, and we both have used it and still use it and recommend it.
Thanks, Chris.
Jason,
and thanks everybody. We're going to be here every Monday with the PSP show, just like normal. And then now every Thursday with the Q&A show. So send us your questions on Facebook, send them on Twitter, send them on the YouTube channel in the comments, send them on the paidsearchpodcast.com website on the contact page. We'll read your questions on the show, and we'll do our best to help you get better at Google Ads and all things search engine marketing. We'll see you Monday on the next episode of the Paid Search Podcast.